In this video, I would like to go over placing an NMR tube sample into the NMR instrument. So, when you approach the NMR instrument, in particular the magnet, you will find that the lid is closed, and opening it up reveals the sample placement tube, the valve here that allows the sample to be removed or lowered into the instrument, and this is a valve that controls the rate of spinning. Spinning is something that when you're just running a routine sample, you shouldn't have to adjust this. So I'd encourage you to not touch this knob. But this one you do have to use in order to get the sample out. Now remember that the air compressor, which sits just to the right of the magnet, does have to be running for the loading and unloading of a sample from the instrument. Notice that the black knob is currently pointed straight towards the wall. You can rotate it clockwise 180 degrees, and notice that that caused the sample that's currently in the instrument to be lifted out of the magnet. I usually do leave a sample in the instrument at all times, and that's just to limit the amount of dust that collects inside the magnet. Notice, of course, the NMR tube itself has the spinner on it. You might recall using a spinner in the past. There's a black and red dot on it, so that when it's in the instrument you can kind of see the fact that it is spinning. Remember that the sample tube has to be a particular distance from the spinner. In this instrument, it is very important to not get finger grease and dirt and stuff like that into the instrument. There's always a box of chem wipes handy at the magnet. Take a fresh chem wipe, grab a hold of the spinner, and carefully slide the NMR tube off of the spinner. Now I'm just going to use the same NMR sample for this demonstration. Again, so when placing the NMR tube into the spinner, notice the hole inside, that's what you're aiming for. It's a rather tight fit. When you get a chance to look at the spinner, there is an O-ring in there. And so there is, and being a new spinner, there's a lot of resistance. When the spinner is on the NMR tube about that far, we do have this adjustment to make to get the depth right. So placing the spinner up against the end of this, and then carefully sliding the NMR tube down until it seats at the other end. Try to get a good picture of that. Notice also there's this rough patch right here in the gauge, and this is letting you know where the magnetic field is really located and where the coils are located that will obtain the spectrum. The black marks here indicate the minimum depth to which the sample should be in the tube itself. And by that I'm referring to the liquid that's here. This sample is propyl benzoate in deuterated chloroform with a little bit of TMS. Once everything is set to the right location, give everything one last swab to just remove any dirt, dust, finger grease, whatever, and carefully place it into the tube. Now, never, ever, ever do this without the air on. Without air on, this would simply drop straight down into the magnet, more than likely breaking the glass and getting the sample all over. So, carefully placing this in the tube, it will rest on a cushion of air, like so. Then, turning this knob 180 degrees counterclockwise will allow the sample to drop down. Now if you stop here and just go 90 degrees, what happens is the sample gets dropped down into the magnet, but the air is not on to cause spinning. So you do have to go all the way around to the 12 o'clock position in order to get the NMR tube to spin. You can look down into the tube and see that the sample is spinning. I haven't had any trouble yet with that, but the potential exists for gradual dust accumulation to resist. Once the sample's down inside, close the lid. Of course, move the chem wipes out of the way and close the lid. One thing to be careful about, especially with you guys who were in organic class and used the Hitachi, is that this lid does not automatically lift the sample out, right? You have to use the air pressure. And that's all it takes to load the sample in. Confirm that it's spinning, and then go sit down at the NMR computer and run your sample. And that's it for this video. Nice and short and simple.